Okay, so for this assignment, we're going to do a drawing, something very basic. It could be something that you drew as a child, just something that you like to draw, maybe a favorite animal, something you've drawn over and over again as a kid. For some of you, maybe you don't have something. Maybe you're going to draw your basic stick man and some kind of house with a window, a door, and a doorknob. And that's okay. The point is I just want you to draw something basic that you drew when you were a kid, something you're familiar with. For myself, I grew up on military bases. My dad was in the Air Force, and so I read the comic strip Beetle Bailey, and I was always drawing these cartoons of soldiers when I was a kid. And my parents would tell the story of a time when I was like 2 or 3 years old, and my mom took me to go pick up my dad. And every person that walked by in camouflage, I would point at and say "Daddy," and make them all really nervous. And so this is what I drew a lot of, basically through 3rd grade. And I remember in church one time in Sunday school, we had a lesson on health and nutrition. And I always drew all my soldiers with a cigarette hanging out of their mouth, because that's what I had experienced. And as an artist, it was also great because it gives them something to do with their mouth and their hands. But that's not necessarily within school policy. And so I won't draw a cigarette today. The other thing that I drew a lot of as a kid was I had this idea for a comic strip, and it would involve a counter, and then I would put a character there named Stanley, who had a chin like this, and a triangle nose, and mustache like so. Again, I'm doing this with a Sharpie. You can use your pencil or whatever tool you have. I'm just doing the Sharpie so that everyone can see what it is I'm drawing. And so I had my character Stanley, and he had, and I think I was kind of modeled after Garfield, but instead of a cat, he had a pet Venus flytrap. And her name was Iris. And they would talk about dating and philosophical questions about life and the universe. And so that's something, some things that I drew when I was a kid. So basically, I just want you to tap into something that you used to draw when you were little, and just kind of try to remember that experience, that time. Try to tap into some of that energy. The other thing I used to draw was a balloon, a hot air balloon. And I don't know why, but I loved the idea as a kid. I've never actually been on a hot air balloon, but for some reason, something about that just kind of resonated with me. And so you might not have enough time to get your drawing done today in your class time. So please, if you don't, do it as homework. You can color it, or you can just do a black and white. But we will be hanging these up at the start of class. The other thing I drew a lot, I just remembered this, was airplanes. You know, growing up on an air base, did lots of airplanes. And the other thing was TIE fighters. And those were just really simple, because you could just do these lines and then have some lasers coming out. And so, yeah, those are some ideas. Hopefully it jogs something in your memory. But those are things you can do as well.